Alright, in this lesson I'll introduce the map method, which maps the values of a series to another collection of data. So let's begin with a simple example where we're going to have two series. I'll begin by using our readCSV method, but I'll use it in a slightly different way. So I'm going to create a Pokemon names variable this time, and I'm going to read CSV, that's our method, and I'm going to import the Pokemon.csv. And I'm going to use just the Pokemon column, which represents the Pokemon names. So I'm going to pass that in a list as my argument to the useCalls parameter. And then I'm just going to apply that squeeze parameter again and give it a value of true. So let's preview Pokemon names below with the first three rows. That's the head method. So here we have the default numeric panda series and our Pokemon names represented on the right here. Let's now create a second series, and it's going to be the types, Pokemon underscore types. Once again, we're going to read the same CSV. It's going to be called Pokemon.csvs. And this time, I'm going to use the index call parameter and give it the same argument, which is Pokemon. So it's going to take the name of the Pokemon and use it as our index. And then the other column that remains there is type, and I'm going to include that with squeeze equals true to make it a series. And so when I previewed the first three rows of this series, it looks like that. So we've used both of these snippets of code before. We're just now doing both of them. So we have Pokemon names as one of our series where we have a numeric index and the Pokemon names as the values. And we have our second series where the Pokemon names have represent the index of this series and the types represent the values. Now, in this case, we have all of our values within an existing CSV file. So you might be thinking, well, how does this make any sense? We had them and we separated them. But really, this is more ideal for whenever we have data sets from two different purposes. Let's say that these came from two different files, and now we want to map it together. We sort of want to perform something like a VLOOKUP operation in Excel. Now, what the map method does is it's called upon a single series. So let's call it on Pokemon names. And we're going to use the map method and write our parentheses after. And the first parameter is the arg, which is the argument. And that's going to be the object that it's going to compare the values to. And so if I give it another series like Pokemon types, what it's going to do is move through these series values. So it's going to go Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur. It's then going to look for those values in the index of the argument that we've passed it, which is Pokemon types. So it's going to find those values here. It's going to look for Bulbasaur, then Ivysaur, and Venusaur. And again, in this example, they're all in the exact same order. But imagine if we're dealing with CSV files where they're in completely different jumbled order. And as soon as it locates the value from our first series in the index of our second series, it's going to take this value right here and return it in a brand new series. So let's take a look. So there you can see it's taken Bulbasaur as the first series value. It's looked up Bulbasaur in the index of our second series, which is Pokemon types. It's gotten grass from right here. So for that position, for that index position of 0 up here, it's returning grass. So it's going to keep the index position of our very first series, which is Pokemon names, and it's going to map each of those values to the index labels of our second series, which is Pokemon types, and return the corresponding values from our second series. So this is especially helpful when you have two data sets and you want to map them together, especially when they come from different sources. Let's do another example, but this time we're going to pass the map method a Python dictionary instead of a series, just so you can see how it works in another context. So once again, I'm going to copy my code from up here, which is my Pokemon names import function. And I'm also going to copy the code right here, but I'm going to do one more thing to it. So what I'm actually going to do here is call a method that we haven't discussed previously, but it's called toDict, and that converts that pandas series to a Python dictionary. It's exactly the same thing as passing the series directly to our dict built-in function, which we did discuss earlier. So now if I preview after executing that cell. Let me just scroll down. If I preview the first 5 rows of the Pokemon name series, it's a regular Panda series. In comparison, Pokemon types is a Python dictionary. And we have the Pokemon names as the keys and the types of the Pokemon as the values of the dictionary. So now we have 2 different data types. Maybe we've got them from 2 different sources, and this is what we're dealing with. I'm going to collapse this by clicking on the gray stuff. And once again, we can do Pokemon.names, which represents our series. Series have a method called map. What that does is move through all of the series values and tries to map them to some other data collection. In this example, we want to map them to another data type, which is a dictionary, and that is our Pokemon types dictionary. And the behind-the-scenes work is going to be the exact same. It's going to take those values, Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur, etc., but now it's going to look for them among the keys of our Pokemon types dictionary. If it's able to find a match, it's going to return the value from that key from that dictionary and put that in as the value for that row in the resulting series. Let's take a look. So we're going to have the exact same thing we had earlier. This time we just used a dictionary instead of another Panda series to map. So again, the map method is really great when you want to take the values in one series and tie them together or map them to another data collection. And that can be a Python dictionary, it can be another Panda series, and I think even a few more objects are available there, but you'll have to look at the documentation. But that is the map method that we can call on a series.